We are shaped by the people who see us, nurture us, and teach us who we are. Today on Truth Be Told, we meet Akil and Mariyama Ajamu, lifelong educators and parents, whose story reveals how identity, representation, and love can change the way a child sees themselves and the world.
I knew it was important for my children to know who they were and where all of this began. I knew it was important that they know their culture and had the ability of reading and being exposed to our heroes.
Throughout this Truth Be Told podcast, we explore personal stories of racial inequity across the lifespan. In this episode, we look at childhood, a time of identity formation, discovery, and growth, when the images and voices around us shape what we believe about ourselves and what we imagine possible. For many Black and brown children, school is the first place where the question of who am I collides with the world's perception of them. Akil and Mariyama know this story well. They've spent decades teaching, not just lessons in reading or history, but lessons in self-worth and cultural pride. Before we hear their story, we pause to honor the lineage they draw from, the well of heritage that anchors their work and their love for community.
What shall I tell my children who are Black? Reflections of an African American Mother by Margaret Burroughs. I have drunk deeply of late from the foundation of my Black culture, sat at the knee and learned from Mother Africa, discovered the truth of my heritage, the truth so often obscured and omitted, and I have much to say to my Black children. I will lift up their heads in proud Blackness with the story of their fathers and their fathers' fathers, and I shall take them into a way-back time of kings and queens who ruled the Nile and measured the stars and discovered the laws of mathematics, upon whose backs have been built the wealth of continents. I will tell him this and more, and his heritage shall be his weapon, and his armor will make him strong enough to win any battle he may face.
Those words, written more than 60 years ago, speak to the power of heritage as armor. It's foundational, because when children know where they come from, they can stand tall wherever they go. For Akil, that foundation began in Jamaica, surrounded by teachers and leaders who all looked like him. It was a childhood built on reflection, recognition, and pride.
I didn't see anyone except the governor in any position in Jamaica that didn't look like me. Police, doctors, lawyers, engineers, soldiers. Now, what did that do? I saw myself in every one of them. In terms of image building, that was in front of me 24/7.
You've basically always known Black people to be in these positions. Akil's experience as a child in Jamaica stands in sharp contrast to what many Black children faced and still face in America. In the 1940s, psychologists Kenneth and Mamie Clark's famous Dial test revealed how segregation and discrimination created feelings of inferiority in Black children, most of whom preferred white Dials and associated them with goodness and beauty. Those findings helped shape Brown versus Board of Education, the landmark case that declared segregation in public schools unconstitutional.
My father, the reader, he would bring the books home. Like, for instance, 100 Facts About Negro Race, written by Jamaican J.A. Rogers.
So not only did you see
Yes.
Black and African people, but your father would bring in materials in the home that encouraged you to learn more about who you were.
And every school teacher had my pigmentation. Only a few men at that time were teaching Jamaica. And through those women, I learned what nurturing and patience is. They really treated us as if we were their sons, not just our teachers.
Akil recalls one day when a teacher praised him for his answers on a quiz.
You're the crumb of the crop. Those type of things that you say to a child, you wouldn't believe what it does to them mentally, because they want to hear it again, so they're going to repeat the good things.
So you had these positive images growing up, and you got the encouragement too.
Oh, yes.
What Akil describes, seeing yourself reflected in your surroundings, is something many black children in America rarely experience. Most will go through kindergarten to 12th grade without ever having a teacher who looks like them. And yet, studies show that representation in teaching directly affects student success. A study from Johns Hopkins found that black students who have even one black teacher are 13% more likely to enroll in college and 39% less likely to drop out of high school. Representation, it turns out, isn't symbolic, it's measurable. Mariyama, what was your experiences like growing up?
First of all, I was from a very large family. There were 7 of us. I describe my family as being very wealthy, but we just didn't have the money. We had the love and the nurturing. My mother was always involved in the schools that we attended, and I really do feel that that's key and very important. By her being there, actually influenced how we dealt with our children, being there for them constantly, not waiting for a teacher or anyone to call us to come. But at the same time, too, I was from a very wonderful community. It was very melanated, and I would describe it as a village. So the responsibility was not just solely on my parents. Those conscious individuals in our community took time with us, talked to us, took us places, exposed us to things that we would not normally have been exposed to. So as a result, I feel that I had an excellent, and I want to emphasize, an excellent example on how one should be.
What did you experience coming up in those spaces that cemented for you the importance of understanding what it meant to be black and African and having a positive image of that?
I was educated by some men in Jamaica who couldn't go to school when I was a youth because of their hairstyle, rastas. And I used to wonder about them, you know. They were the example of what I learned about certain situations that tells me how even people who look like you can treat you in a certain way. Because Jamaica is like 100% African born in Jamaica. And yet these are the very people, the police, that turned against Rasta at that time. Mm-hmm. And so what they did was to really educate me.
I would say the activity in my community actually helped to shape who I am. We would have activists coming inside of our community often. We would have celebrations such as Kwanzaa, Juneteenth. We would even sometime have Kwame Ture coming into the community, even Angela Davis. So I got exposed to really the movement and how important it was for each and every one of us to know our culture and also know who we were.
So you mentioned the movement, but so some of our listeners may not know. I know what that means, but so when you say Stokely Carmichael, AKA Kwame Ture, Angela Davis, the movement you're referring to is?
The Black Panthers. It wasn't just the Black Panthers, it was also SNCC.
Mm-hmm. Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
Yes. So we really got
even
immersed
the Lords.
in
Even
our
the
culture.
Lords.
In our culture. Even what?
The Lords.
Oh,
the Hispanic group.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mariyama's community modeled collective education, where political awareness and self-pride went hand in hand. These grassroots movements built the foundation for what we now call culturally responsive education, a practice proven to improve student engagement and achievement. Akil, you mentioned after these experiences, you knew you wanted to educate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you both ended up in schools, correct?
correct. As a very young youth, I would say at about 7th grade, they started a program where they began training us how to teach the basics, phonics, numbers, and colors. In the morning, we would get trained, and in the afternoon, we would go out to the homes of the students that we were tutoring, and we would tutor them in the backyards. I had no idea where it was going to really take me, but I basically have developed a love for teaching reading. When you're passionate about anything, any specific subject, and you do it over and over and over again, you become very good at it. So I know what I am very good at. So as a result, I've had a lot of success with not only my children, but also a lot of young people.
Their paths met in purpose, both driven by the conviction that children thrive when they see themselves in their educators. Becoming parents to son Teray and daughter Zalika gave new meaning to everything they believed about education and identity. Because for them, raising children wasn't separate from teaching, it was teaching. And research shows that those early lessons matter most. The foundation for self-esteem, resilience, and racial identity begins long before a child enters school. It begins at home.
Certain things are going to be learned by the images that is put up around the house. Certain things are going to be listened to by what is being played, to what they're listening to what you read to them at night before they go to bed, the kind of interaction you have with them.
How important was it for you to instill this positive Black identity in your children?
Based on how I was raised, I knew it was important for my children to know who they were and where all of this began. I knew it was important that they know their culture and had the ability of reading and being exposed to our heroes. We would have pictures of our cultural images on the walls to reinforce their identity. Culture is like roots. Without roots, a tree cannot survive. And when you understand who you are and your history, you can achieve much.
Well-documented research confirms that when Black children are taught about their identity and culture, they're more resilient, confident, and perform better academically.
The focus was on always reading. And we kept books in the house. And we were pretty much the traditional family where we ate together and discussed what was going on at school. And just the culture, the history. And the benefit that I had is that my husband was a history major. So no subjects were off the table.
I know you have an extensive library. You mentioned your father sharing this book, J.A. Rogers' book. Were there certain books that you would use to help support the development of your own children so they had a better understanding of who they were and where they come from?
One of the first ones is the Miseducation of the Negro.
Carter G. Woodson.
Yeah, okay. The other one is written by this brother, The Attempt to Destroy Black Boys. I can't remember his name now.
Jawanza Kunjufu.
Okay, then I don't have to send
recently just joined the Ancestors.
Yes.
Transition. Yes.
We bought a series of books for our daughter specifically. It was written by a Black author. But I know one of the things we would say to her is, if you settle for less than you deserve, you will get exactly what you want. So we would actually talk to them and express what they thought we meant. So we have to remember, we should never settle for less than we deserve.
Why did you choose to homeschool? What's lacking in schools, or what are the obstacles that prevent schools from doing better at cultivating a positive Black identity?
The obstacle is the absence of African, some people might want to say Black history, which is actually global history. Without our history, there is no true complete history. So it's not holistic. It's almost like just feeding your child rice when they need rice and vegetables. So that's one of the missing pieces, but there are many others too.
Okay. So at some point you did have to send your children to a public school. How did you come to that decision?
When you begin a process early, that it is so ingrained that you can tell your adult protection is no longer required. And you feel confident now, now you can go there now because you got it.
Once enrolled in public school, their daughter was recommended by her teacher for the Talented and Gifted program. The teacher in charge of the program said that she couldn't be in the program, and the principal did nothing about it. Nationwide, Black students remain underrepresented in gifted programs, even when their scores match their peers.
We moved in less than a month from Amherst back to Buffalo, where she ended up in
Montessori.
And from there,
She took
National Honor Student.
Oftentimes, we send our children to these schools or institutions, and when certain things take place, we just accept it. When someone say, well, your child should not enter this advanced class, I feel too many parents just say, well, they must know my child better than I. We have to be assertive when those type of situations come up, and don't just accept what someone is telling you. You know your child better than anyone else. So I would just encourage parents to be advocate for their children. If they advocate for them at a young age, they will grow in a space where they will no longer need them.
They will no longer need an advocate. They can advocate for themselves.
Exactly.
That advocacy is part of a long legacy. From parents fighting segregation to those organizing today for equitable curriculum and teacher diversity. So once Teray and Zalika went to school, did you find that they had a lot of positive role models in the schools who looked like them?
No. It was non-existence, like many schools. Many of the teachers are usually individuals that do not reflect their community.
This is what I see is needed in terms of the school and the community having the kind of communication that when they leave home to go to school, there's a continuation from what began at home. A teacher generally is a surrogate parent.
Okay.
It's just that who they are facilitating learning don't live with them. But they're spending more time with other people's children than even their own at home.
And educational research concludes Black teachers are more likely to use empathy and cultural understanding and discipline, reducing suspensions and building trust.
Critical. Every child needs to have critical thinking skills. Once they have that ability, they can basically think on their feet. They are in the position to be able to defend themselves. So when we oftentimes we're sitting at the table with our children, it would be really centered around critical thinking skills. We would give examples of what would you do in this situation, or either we would role play. That's really important. So critical thinking skills is a key factor. They do not have to agree with everything that the adult in the room is saying, or even the professional. And you'd be surprised sometimes if you just sit back and listen to them, because they are not empty. They are not empty vessels. They come here with gifts. We need to help them to discover what that gift is. And that is one of the things that I feel the public school system have a difficult time in doing consistently.
So I'm hearing a few different things, right? So the importance of critical thinking, the importance of self-advocacy, right? And you help to kind of encourage those skills through interactions with your children. And also the importance of positive Black images and the importance of knowing that history and how it's not just the history in America, it's a global history, right? What would it have meant for your children not to have that type of exposure before going into a school system in which 90% or more of those teachers are not Black?
It would have been like throwing a dice, in my personal opinion.
Even while you were raising your own children and preparing them to go out into the world, you also worked with other children from the community. How did that happen? Like, how did people find you? How did you find students to work with?
That's a real good question, Will, because we didn't really go out and look. What happened with us, people would refer students to us. Students usually who may have been in private schools and having serious issues and being diagnosed with things that was incorrect. Like, for instance, you go to a doctor and he tells you, you have a weak heart. Then you go to another doctor and he say, there's nothing wrong with your heart. That is the experience of many of our children. Misdiagnosis.
These are what researchers call natural mentors, trusted adults whose relationships develop organically, often lasting years. They make measurable differences in youth well-being and achievement. Why is it important for you to offer this opportunity?
What can I do to make the situation better for youths? Why can't the politician do this? Why can't they do this? No, what can I do?
The reason why we do this type of work is because it's a passion. And at the same time, too, there is not a lot of options for children. So therefore, whatever we can do to make a difference, we will do what we can. Children give you energy. They keep you relevant. They keep you vibrant. They keep you youthful. If they succeed, I feel a part of that success. And it's like drinking from the fountain of youth. And looking at them, I see me. I have an obligation. I have a responsibility until I cannot do anymore.
That intergenerational love,
So I can't
grandparents,
understand
neighbors, aunties,
nothing.
mentors,
I have an obligation.
has always been central
I
to
have a
Black community life.
responsibility
It's
until I
education,
cannot do
care, and resistance all in one. How do we create a community that encourages this type of development of young people, specifically in the Black community?
The situation is very difficult because the people that need and the community that need this type of situation the most are politically powerless and financially is, day-to-day hand-to-mouth situation. So it's difficult. I just believe is that for change, for people like me, it must come first within me.
I think if a group of us come together collectively, everything would more than likely fall into place. Why? Because there's a need. There's a need for a certain type of school for our children so that they can thrive. And I believe that is possible. I do understand economics plays a large role. But I believe if there's a way we can come together and construct it. I think the system today needs to be deconstructed and reconstructed. And then there is this saying, when you travel singly, well, it's an African proverb. Do you know it?
If you want to get there fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Beautiful, perfect, perfect.
Akil and Mariyama's story reminds us that representation, love, and advocacy are as essential to learning as any textbook. When children see themselves reflected, they believe in their possibilities. So what can we do? Learn by reading Black authors and listening to elders. Volunteer in schools and mentorship programs. Support organizations building educational equity. And advocate for diverse teachers, inclusive curricula, and belonging in every classroom. As Mariyama said, change can come collectively. It starts with each of us, as parents, mentors, and community members, by showing up, speaking up, and building spaces where every child feels seen. Because equity isn't a single initiative. It's a sustained practice of justice, belonging, and care. Every child deserves to see themselves reflected in the world around them, in teachers, leaders, creators, and communities. Every story deserves to be told. And truth be told, when we teach children who they are, we teach them they can change the world. In our next episode, we continue this journey through a lifespan into pre-adolescence. Celeste's story shines a light on what happens when our schools fail to see Black and brown children as children, and how a mother's love turned heartbreak into unwavering strength. I'm your host, Wil Green. Thanks for listening. Truth Be Told is a production of Buffalo Toronto Public Media and Cruise Control Media, in collaboration with Clementine Gold Group, LLC, and WUFO.